Big chill. New from day
years brings a presidential deal with prosecutors. All this just hours before a new president takes office. Plus, electric shockwaves. California's widening power crisis could soon lead to a gasoline shortage.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting tonight from Presidential Inauguration Headquarters in Washington.
Good evening. Once again, there has never been anything like this in American history. A dramatic close today to the Clinton presidency. A plea arrangement to avoid any possible prosecution or disbarment in 2 sex cases. And it shook up this capital city just as it's preparing for the inauguration of a new president, George W. Bush, making one final round of appearances today before he takes office at noon tomorrow. We'll have much more about the inauguration in a moment, but first, CBS News correspondent John Roberts at the White House has details of the Clinton deal with the independent counsel and what it means. John?
Dan, sources tell CBS News the independent counsel's office demanded President Clinton accept this deal today for 2 reasons. Special prosecutor Robert Ray wanted the deal done while Mr. Clinton was still president, and he didn't want the matter hanging around through George Bush's first few days at the White House.
I have never had sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. I've never had an affair with her.
3 years after this deposition in the Paula Jones case, President Clinton for the first time today admitted that testimony he gave regarding his relationship with Monica Lewinsky was knowingly evasive and misleading.
If she told someone that she had a sexual affair with you beginning in November of 1995, would that be a lie?
It's certainly not the truth.
Mr. Clinton today offered this finely parsed public contrition. I tried to walk a line between acting lawfully and testifying falsely, he said, but I now recognize that I did not fully accomplish this goal and that certain of my responses to questions about Ms. Lewinsky were false. It was enough for the independent counsel to shut down his investigation.
This matter is now concluded. May history and the American people judge that it has been concluded justly.
In a separate deal, Mr. Clinton also ended disbarment proceedings against him in Arkansas, agreeing to pay a $25,000 fine and surrender his law license for 5 years. Attorneys for the president wanted a shorter suspension, but took 5 years over disbarment.
The 5-year suspension is well beyond what would have been typical in any other disbarment case, but he wants to put this behind him, and he recognizes that an agreement here is necessary to put it behind him.
Still, the White House is claiming victory of sorts. The deal was limited only to the Paula Jones deposition, not allegations that Mr. Clinton lied before a grand jury, charges that led to his impeachment. And while he says he knowingly misled prosecutors, the president did not and will not admit that he deliberately lied.
He did not lie. We have not admitted he lied, and he does not do so today.
Sources tell CBS News there was a bit of a game of chicken going on here, that Robert Ray believed he wouldn't get a conviction and wanted the best deal he could get, and that President Clinton, still fearing indictment and disbarment, just wanted the matter put to bed. Dan?
John Roberts at the White House. For added inside perspective and the reaction to the Clinton-Ray done deal shocker, CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer is here with us. Bob?
Well, Dan, the first thing is this really caught Washington by surprise. The confirmation hearings for Bush cabinet appointments were just breaking up when the rumors of a deal hit Capitol Hill like a thunderbolt. As he had so often, to the very end, Bill Clinton was pushing the other news aside. But this time, there was bipartisan relief.
My inclination would be that it's for the good. We've been through this long enough.
Republican Orrin Hatch couldn't have agreed more, saying that if only the president had come clean earlier,
it could have saved him and this country several years of pain and agony.
Henry Hyde, who led the fight to oust the president, said Mr. Clinton's admission validated the impeachment effort.
Reaffirming that this was a defense of the rule of law and not a political adventure.
But was it worth it? Some Democrats wondered.
Is it really justified $75 million or so spent by Kenneth Starr and Mr. Ray and others?
Actually, it was more like $52 million, but still a sizable sum for investigations that began with a land deal called Whitewater and put us on a first-name basis with Paula and Monica. Eventually, hundreds of pounds of testimony about stained dresses and phone sex were delivered to Congress and aired publicly on the floor of the House and Senate. But Bill Clinton survived it all, and today his main pursuers said maybe just as well.
Considering the mood of the country and considering the gravity of the offenses and all the turmoil we've been through, I think this is an appropriate wind-up to this entire situation.
One footnote, Linda Tripp, who always seemed to be butting into this story at odd moments, barged in again today. Unlike the other political appointees in the Clinton administration, she refused to resign her obscure job at the Defense Department, so the Pentagon fired her. Dan.
Thanks, Bob. Now to the other big story here in Washington, the main event of the weekend. George Bush will be sworn in tomorrow as the 43rd President of the United States. The President-elect made some important news today. CBS News correspondent Bill Plant has it. Bill?
Dan, the President-elect told CBS News that he will not try to overturn Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court decision which legalized abortion.
On the economy.
In an interview to be broadcast tomorrow on The Early Show, Bush told Jane Clayson he doesn't think it's possible to get a constitutional amendment banning abortion.
What my agenda will be is to try to reduce abortions, is to work on banning partial birth abortion, or to work on helping states with parental notification laws. That's the practical approach. There's going to be abortion in America. And the fundamental question is, are they going to be safe? Will they be numerous or not?
On Capitol Hill, the President-elect's two most controversial cabinet nominees, John Ashcroft for Attorney General and Gail Norton to be Interior Secretary, are still being scrutinized by the Senate. Both are expected to be approved, although Senator Edward Kennedy has threatened to filibuster the Ashcroft nomination when it comes to the Senate floor. As Washington prepared for inaugural festivities, cold, rainy weather with the threat of snow and sleet tomorrow threatened to move the swearing-in ceremony inside the Capitol, as it was in 1985 when single-digit temperatures forced Ronald Reagan's second inaugural indoors. But the President-elect's mood was sunny as he made the rounds of inaugural festivities. He introduced his wife, Laura, a librarian and teacher, at an event celebrating America's authors.
Her love for books is real. Her love for children is real. And my love for her is real.
And then, as if to underline those words, George W. Bush gave his wife a playful pat, either not realizing or not caring who was watching.
But after tomorrow's swearing-in, Bush will get right down to business. Aides expect him to quickly issue a moratorium on the publication of new rules in the Federal Register. That would have the effect of blocking at least the last week's worth or so of Bill Clinton's controversial new rulings until the Bush team can take a look at them. Dan?
Bill Plant. You can see more of Jane Clayson's interview with George Bush tomorrow morning on a special edition of the Saturday Early Show, part of our day-long CBS News coverage of the presidential inauguration. From day one, the new president and his team will face plenty of problems, including what could become a major Pentagon scandal. The CBS Evening News broke the story last night with 60 Minutes correspondent Mike Wallace and his exclusive report on evidence of lying and cover-up involving the Marine Corps' radical new Osprey aircraft. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin tonight has new details.
After two crashes which killed 23 Marines, the B-22 tilt-rotor aircraft was already in serious trouble. Now there are credible allegations the B-22's performance records have been faked. On an audio tape mailed anonymously to the Secretary of the Navy, a voice believed to be that of Lieutenant Colonel Fred Lieberman can be heard telling members of his V-22 squadron why they have to lie about whether aircraft were ready to fly.
And the reason we need to lie or manipulate the data or however you want to call it is that this program is in jeopardy.
A letter accompanying the tape and written by a person claiming to be a V-22 mechanic says this type of deception has been going on for over 2 years. That calls into question previous Marine claims about improvements in the V-22's mission-capable rate. That's the number of planes able to fly on any given day.
I pulled the first 13 days of November's mission-capable rate on those airplanes, and the average is 73.2%.
The letter says maintainers are being told they have to lie on maintenance records to make the numbers look good. It all stems from the attitude that we have to have the plane whether or not it is ready. Lieutenant Colonel Lieberman has been relieved of his command and could face criminal charges. But on the tape, a member of his squadron indicates pressure to make the plane look good came from higher up.
I have real concern as far as what we are having to do because of higher education.
Both the Marines and the anonymous letter insist the falsification of records is not responsible for the 2 fatal accidents. But those crashes, plus an independent evaluation which branded the V-22 as not operationally suitable, had already forced the Marines to suspend the $30 billion program.
And now the mechanic who says he has worked on the aircraft for the past 2 years says flatly in this anonymous letter, this plane is not ready for the fleet. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
For more exclusive reporting on this story, watch Mike Wallace's expanded investigation Sunday night on 60 Minutes. As the Pentagon began to crank up its Osprey investigation today, it wrapped up the one into last fall's attack on the USS Cole. Defense Secretary William Cohen accepted the Navy's conclusion that no one in the U.S. military deserves punishment for failing to stop the suicide bombing that killed 17 sailors. But Cohen faulted the whole chain of command, himself included, for doing too little to anticipate terrorist threats. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, California in crisis. The state agrees to pay millions for power, but can't guarantee the lights will stay on. But first, this inaugural note. The Bible used at George Washington's 1789 inauguration was put aboard a New York to Washington Amtrak train today to be used again by George W. Bush.
Grass, check.
Perspiration.
Check.
The new Maytag Neptune with Stain Brain makes removing stains all but foolproof.
Thanks. Well, at least the new kids keep them busy.
The new Maytag Neptune, perfecting the art of stain removal.
I kept telling myself my overactive bladder was no big deal, but I was going so often. And suddenly, right in the middle of the show, come on, Kevin. Grandpa needs a bathroom. I really had to hurry. That did it. I asked my doctor about Detrol.
Prescription Detrol effectively treats overactive bladder, a medical condition. Detrol helps control bladder contractions that cause those sudden urges. If you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems, do not take Detrol. The most common side effect is dry mouth. Some others may include dry eyes, headache, constipation, and indigestion. Overactive bladder is not normal at any age, so don't wait. Ask your doctor today about Detrol, the brand doctors prescribe most for overactive bladder.
Detrol made a difference for me.
The world is a beautiful place, but not when your eyes feel dry, gritty, irritated. Protect them with Refresh brand eye drops. Refresh is no ordinary eye drop. First, Refresh relieves dryness. Then Refresh forms a lasting shield of protection that keeps irritation out and moisture in. So get relief and protection with the #1 brand recommended by eye doctors. Refresh. It relieves and protects. And protects and protects.
Dinner time?
No.
He hates peas. So I try little things here and there, like hiding some in his salad.
Here you go. Go for it. You want some salad to go with that dressing?
And something tells me that eventually he'll learn to like them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is it good?
Yeah, real good.
Peas were the first step. Now we have some other things to work on.
Around here, the dressing is Kraft.
President Clinton today declared a natural gas emergency in California and ordered suppliers to keep on servicing the state's power-starved utilities. And California itself took new and desperate measures. But CBS's John Blackstone reports prospects for solving California's power supply fix now look grimmer and dimmer.
In California's escalating power crisis, there were threats today that blackouts could soon begin stretching to 12 hours and hit police stations and hospitals.
The commission has called this emergency meeting today.
California's Public Utilities Commission met an emergency session today, saying it learned the state's 2 biggest utilities
for planning to cut power to millions of customers as early as tomorrow.
So we act today to only assure the public that the utilities will not and may not abandon service to customers over the weekend.
The Public Utilities Commission discovered PG&E and Southern California Edison were about to stop buying electricity on the open market. They would provide only the power they produced themselves, barely enough to serve half the state. That could launch PG&E's doomsday plan. It calls for 2.3 million residential customers to face blackouts twice a day without warning. Hospitals, police, and fire stations could face blackouts up to 3 hours in length. Non-emergency businesses would face 6-hour blackouts. The company says it all hinges on the ability of the state's energy coordinator, the ISO, to find enough electricity.
The plan would be triggered on someday in the future when the ISO told California utilities that it could no longer procure power for them that day.
And now the electricity crisis could create a gasoline crisis for motorists. A refinery that produces 10% of California's gasoline has been warned it could soon be hit by blackouts. To conserve energy, a Los Angeles area racetrack rescheduled night races to this afternoon. For horses and jockeys accustomed to running under the lights, it may have been disorienting. A collision in the first race left 4 jockeys with minor injuries. Some are beginning to call California's energy mess the perfect storm, with everything that could possibly go wrong hitting at once. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
Federal prosecutors now believe an Algerian facing terrorism charges in Seattle may have been planning attacks on Southern California airports. Ahmed Ressam was arrested in 1999 for allegedly trying to bring explosives into the U.S. from Canada. New court documents say Los Angeles International Airport and others were circled on a map found in Ressam's apartment. On the CBS Market Watch, a mixed day on Wall Street with the Dow down 90 points, the NASDAQ up less than 2. At his first inaugural, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." Up next, signs in Washington that fear is here.
Hey, world, I'm back. Know that old saying about diarrhea? Just let it run its course. Why did I listen to that for so long? Today, I did what was right for my body. I took control. I took Imodium.
Why suffer when Imodium AD can stop diarrhea safely and gently, often in just one dose? Imodium AD. Restore yourself. New from the makers of Imodium, Probiotica, the dietary supplement that promotes digestive health.
The most important thing I've done in life, take care of my family. An important thing I've done lately, talk to my doctor.
Ask your doctor about Prempro.
I'm glad I did.
A significant discovery in eye health may be lutein, a nutrient found in these healthy foods. Now Centrum has the only leading multivitamins with lutein to help maintain your precious sight. Centrum Silver, now more complete with lutein.
I've got this life philosophy. When you get thrown, you get right back up. That's why I took control with Depend Protective Underwear. Just like regular, same soft feel, same snug fit, and an absorbent panel built right in. So I don't have to worry. Except for the 500 head I gotta herd. Take control with Depend.
Winter air makes it worse. So can blow drying. That's scalp stress itch. And Scalpicin stops it. Clean, unscented, medicated to stop scalp stress itch.
Every time.
Scalpicin stops scalp stress itch.
Ouch! Pain again? I thought your dentist said brush with Sensodyne every day.
I stopped when the pain stopped.
Keep using it. It keeps working.
Sensodyne every day. Now try Sensodyne Tartar Control plus whitening every day.
If today's stock markets have you looking for the stability of a money fund, choose the one ranked #1, the Strong Investors Money Fund. Call 1-888-4STRONG. You're one call away from a strong portfolio.
Don't get that, Frank. Hello?
Baxter! Crunchy Meow Mix seafood middles. Mackerel and tuna flavors make it taste so good. Cats ask for it by name.
Divorce, does it always have to be traumatic? Eye on America looks at new ways to preserve family life and make settlements fair. Monday on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
On the streets of Washington, early signs of very tight security for tomorrow's inauguration. A federal judge ruled today the restrictions do not violate the constitutional rights of protesters. The judge did say police checkpoints for parade goers and inaugural first could pose a logistical nightmare. When George Washington, arrived in New York to be sworn in as president, he was welcomed by Mr. Clinton, George Clinton, the governor. Washington was offered a military escort, but said, quote, "I prefer no escort except the affections of my fellow citizens." 2 centuries later, George W. Bush will find security in the current seat of the government a whole lot tighter, and all citizens who come here will see some big changes, as Jim Stewart reports in tonight's Eye on America.
Aesthetically speaking, this is one ugly building, but the FBI didn't build it for looks. They built it to withstand a bomb, and they're so sensitive about it, they even object when you take pictures of it from a public sidewalk.
That film is interesting.
But as security chieftains increasingly get their way, this is increasingly what Washington looks like today: stark, set back, and suspicious.
In Washington, we could shut down a major area of our city to anything that looks like city life.
U.S. Commissioner of Public Buildings Bob Peck fears a dangerous new trend. Every time the government builds a new building here, retailers and residents will flee.
This city is on the rebound and having a real renaissance, and I think we could choke it off.
Future building projects do little to dispel that fortress-like feeling. At the White House, what started as an expanded visitor center has turned into a massive subterranean project stretching from the Ellipse to Pennsylvania Avenue, moving offices and even a new First Family recreation room underground. They'll start digging somewhere in here and tunnel all the way up under this street to Pennsylvania Avenue, even to the front of the White House. There'll be enough parking for about 200 cars under this area, and all business visitors and deliveries would come through secure checkpoints, which would be totally underground. Something similar is planned on Capitol Hill. A massive dig will burrow underneath the Esplanade on the east side. Tourists will be herded underground and then into the Capitol itself. It, too, started as a visitor center, said former Senator Daniel Moynihan.
But then the idea that, hey, this could be a good security measure came along, and increasingly it is just that.
Washington, of course, has ample reason for concern. It is a magnet for the disaffected and insane as well as terrorists. Security directors should make no apology, says former FBI counterterrorism chief Bob Blitzer.
We saw it up on the Hill with the guy that walked in and shot up the Capitol. We've seen the White House sprayed with rifle fire. I mean, look, these things have an effect.
And so do their consequences, says Moynihan, who mourns what is happening to the most powerful city on earth, perhaps more than anyone else.
It's time for a president and a Congress to say to the Secret Service, enough. And to say to our very good friends in the FBI, look, show an example, set an example, show that, you're not afraid.
But one by one, federal agencies are leaving Washington, headed for the suburbs. The fact of the matter is, some privately admit they are afraid. They just don't feel safe here any longer. In Washington, this is Jim Stewart for Eye on America.
We'll have some final words about these historic days in Washington in a moment, but first, a word about inaugural addresses. Few Americans actually heard a word until 1921, when the electronic amplifier, what we now call loudspeaker, was introduced at the inauguration of Warren G. Harding.
I can't let a bladder control problem get in the way of my job. I tried Serenity.
Serenity has a larger dry layer front to back. Liquid is quickly pulled in, helping prevent leaks.
I feel protected.
Protection, confidence, Serenity.
I told my father I wanted to grow up to be a teacher. Wouldn't you rather be a doctor? He said. It's a noble profession and you could become wealthy. That may be true, I said. But without Without teachers, where would doctors come from?
As we age, our cartilage wears down and our joints are less flexible. Move Free with glucosamine and chondroitin helps rebuild joint cartilage, promoting flexibility.
Move better, feel better with Move Free. Now, Shift's complete line of joint care products includes Move Free plus MSM.
What if you could reverse an effect of aging on your cat? Feed her Ives Active Maturity Formula after age 7. It's the first cat food shown to help restore vital cells in her immune system, so you can shape what tomorrow brings. Ives. Good for today, good for tomorrow, good for life.
Get the whole grain goodness of Quaker oatmeal. Toasted. Quaker toasted oatmeal squares. Crisp, crunchy squares with a hint of brown sugar. It's the same Quaker oatmeal, only toasted. Get the whole grain goodness of Quaker oatmeal. Toasted. Quaker toasted oatmeal squares. Crisp, crunchy squares with a hint of brown sugar. It's the same Quaker oatmeal, only toasted.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets. A whole lot easier to take.
And every bit as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
Should have used Preparation H.
New Preparation H medicated wipes with aloe, the easy way to cleanse, cool, and soothe. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. New Preparation H medicated wipes. Big relief.
Tonight at 6, Nike investigates reports of labor unrest and violence at a factory in Mexico. Hear what steps Nike plans to take. That's tonight at 6.
So we come now to the end of one era. To be sure, Bill Clinton would have preferred to leave office riding high on the record of achievement, including economic boom that he outlined last night in his valedictory address to the nation, and with polls showing wide approval for the job he did the past 8 years. Instead, on this cold, rainy weekend in Washington, he leaves under the cloud of a plea deal and lingering questions about his character, so troubling to many Americans, but with many also forgiving and applauding his 2 terms. Tomorrow, a new president will take office. A fresh start and a new era for America will begin. After years of political battles and an election that would not end, there will be, as there has always been in America, a peaceful transition of power. Part of our history and part of our world tonight. Now, here's a quick reminder of what's coming up Sunday on 60 Minutes.
In the past 9 months, 23 U.S. Marines have died in crashes of this aircraft. So why does the Marine Corps insist on keeping it Sunday?
CBS News live coverage of the presidential inauguration begins tomorrow morning at 7 Eastern Time with a special edition of the Saturday Early Show with Bryant Gumbel and Jane Clayson. And I'll pick up the torch at 9 and take you the rest of the way through. With thanks to the law offices of Jones Day, Rivas, and Pogue for this beautiful view of the Capitol, Dan Rather reporting for the CBS Evening News. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the Internet and on our interactive partner, America Online at keyword CBS News. Complete inauguration coverage on a special edition of the Saturday Early Show. Experience CBS News.
With Shirley Hancock and Mike Donahue. This is KOIN 6 News at 6.